Hey everyone, Jake here from CVP. Today we are comparing 4 of Red's latest cinema cameras, all the way from the Komodo up to their flagship V-RAPTOR XL. We will take a look at each camera, explain their pros and cons, and show off some of the images that they can capture, so you can decide which camera you may want to use for your next project. Let's start with the Komodo and the Komodo-X. Both of these cameras share a lot, but there are some very clear differences between them as well. The Komodo is Red's entry-level camera, but it offers a lot of the great things that come with shooting with a Red camera, such as a stellar image and flexible internally compressed RAW. We've used the Komodo as our primary camera in our studio for a couple of years now, because it's just so easy to get great looking images fast. Both Komodos feature a very similar Super 35 6K global shutter sensor. However, the Komodo-X has architectural improvements to get slightly better sensor performance than the Komodo. From our testing, it looks to perform better in the shadows and also has improved colour. The Komodo is quite limited in regards to frame rates, with 6K maxing out at 40 frames per second and 4K maxing out at 60. The Komodo-X can capture double the frame rates possible with the Komodo. This means that you can capture 6K up to 80, 4K up to 120 and 2K up to 240 frames per second, all in a 17:9 aspect ratio in R3D RAW. And the footage looks fantastic, as you'd expect from Red. For a lot of people, the Komodo's frame rates will be fine, but there are also a lot of people who wanted just a little bit more out of it, and the Komodo-X achieves that. You can also shoot ProRes on either camera, but the Komodo-X can now capture 4444xq, whereas the Komodo is limited to 422hq. The form factors of the cameras are quite similar. The Komodo-X is actually the same height and width as the Komodo, but is 19mm longer. This difference may affect how easily you can balance the cameras on smaller gimbals, especially with larger batteries and lenses. They both share a very similar interface on the top of the cameras as well. This includes the 2.9-inch touchscreen and set of control buttons. However, the Komodo-X's arrow buttons are now physically raised slightly, so you can feel which button is which without looking down, which is a really nice touch. The menus are also incredibly similar, though the Komodo-X maybe feels a touch snappier to operate. The Komodo-X uses the same pogo pin layout on the top of the camera as the V-RAPTOR, which is different to the Komodo, and it means that you can use the same accessories such as the DSMC3 monitor on the Komodo-X, but you can't on the Komodo. The Komodo-X uses CF Express Type B media, whereas the Komodo uses CFast 2. CF Express Type B is a much newer and faster media type, which was needed with the Komodo-X due to the increased data rates of the higher frame rates compared to Komodo. Offloading your cards can also be much faster with the correct reader, which should help you save some time. CF Express is also a lot more future-proof than CFast, as the data rate ceiling is so much faster, so you know that your investment into this media will hold value and relevance for years to come. One of the biggest differences between the two cameras is their rear interface. Here the Komodo features a very limited selection of I/O and uses a dual Canon BP battery plate for power. This is cool, as you can adapt to a range of different battery types here, and you can also hot swap these pretty affordable Canon batteries on the fly. The Komodo-X, on the other hand, has a much more comprehensive set of inputs and outputs. The original Komodo just had an EXT, 12G SDI and DC input, whereas the Komodo-X has a USB-C port for connecting to your phone for control or streaming, a 12G SDI, a 3.5mm headphone out, 5-pin LEMO for audio accessories, a 9-pin EXT for expanding the camera's I/O further, and lastly a DC power input. It also uses a compact V-mount battery plate instead of the Canon BPs on the Komodo. A lot of Komodo users would adapt out to V-Lock, so this integration does make sense. This new integrated plate has been designed to work with small mini V-mount batteries, with a width of up to 75mm, which is actually the same as the V-RAPTOR's mini V-Lock plate as well. Both the Komodo and Komodo-X share Canon's RF mount, but the Komodo-X's mount is a locking one like the V-RAPTOR, whereas the Komodo's is not locking, it's just a normal RF mount. This means it will have more play in it versus the locking one on the Komodo-X. There are also a few more specific details that the Komodo-X has that the Komodo does not, such as expanded shutter control, 1080p wireless video, whereas the Komodo's is limited to 720p, improved pre-record times, massively improved black shading speed, and P2P, which is IP-based genlock. It also has generally improved processing, which should allow Red to add new features that the Komodo may not get. There is a roughly £4,000 price difference between the Komodo and the Komodo-X, which is pretty substantial. Both of the cameras need some accessories to get them to a usable point, so expect to add some cash to get these cameras into shooting packages. These two cameras are obviously going to be compared if you're looking at renting or buying one, but they will work out quite differently in price. The Komodo is still an excellent entry point into Red's ecosystem, and when you get it rigged up the way you like it, it's just an absolute joy to use and can produce some fantastic images. It can easily be a good solo operator camera or be used for lightweight configurations, such as on a gimbal, drone, or hard-mounted action scenarios. The Komodo-X is a nice step between the Komodo and Red's V-RAPTOR line. Its improved frame rates, more professional inputs and outputs, integrated V-Lock battery plate, and a slight bump in image quality does make it a nice middle ground for people needing these improvements and features without the budget that they need to look at the V-RAPTOR. Talking about V-RAPTOR, let's take a look at it versus the Komodo-X. Out of the lineup, these two probably share the least out of the cameras, so let's get into it. The V-RAPTOR cameras are available with one of two sensors, an 8K Super 35 and 8K VistaVision, and they are both priced differently, with the 8K Super 35 kinda sitting between the Komodo-X and the VistaVision 8K Raptor. Both of these sensors aren't global shutter like the Komodo or Komodo-X, but are incredibly fast for rolling shutters. This will make the Komodos better in fast action scenarios if you really want to limit rolling shutter artifacts. It is also more common to find the Komodo sensor being used in virtual production, as the global shutter behaves better than rolling in this environment, though the V-RAPTOR still works very well here too. The incredibly fast sensors and more robust processing in the V-RAPTOR means that they can capture some incredible frame rates. Both sensors can capture 120 frames per second in 8K 17:9, up to 240 in 4K 17:9, and up to 600 in 2K in a 2.4:1 aspect ratio. These frame rates are much better than the ones in the Komodo-X, so for more specialist work or people who need the flexibility of these increased frame rates, the V-RAPTOR offers what you expect from a Red camera: fantastic looking high frame rate footage. With the sensors being higher resolution over the Komodo-X, the footage does look more detailed compared to it. All the cameras share similar colour science, but I do think that the V-RAPTORs perform slightly better than the Komodo, but the Komodo-X is definitely closer. We actually managed to compare the latitude performance between all four cameras, and the results are pretty interesting. Starting with the Komodo-X, we can see that Sam's skin starts breaking at around 4 stops, and saturation on our chart starts going at around 5. However, blue is held well to 5+ stops, which is good. Compared to the Komodo, we can see very similar performance here, but that's not too surprising given Red has said that the improvements lie in the shadows between the two. The Super 35 Raptor performs fantastically here with the best performance out of the bunch, with the VistaVision coming in just before it. When comparing the Komodos to the Raptors, you can see quite a large difference. When it comes to underexposure, starting with the Komodo-X, we can see that colour is held well throughout the range. At 4 stops under, it looks pretty good, and compared to the Komodo, it definitely performs better. However, the Super 35 Raptor does edge it out slightly here, and the V-RAPTOR looks the best, which isn't too surprising. One of the largest differences between the Komodo-X and the V-RAPTOR is their physical body designs. This means the rigging that sits around them is quite different. The Komodo-X is a decent amount smaller and has clearly been designed to be operated in a different way from the V-RAPTOR. The V-RAPTOR lacks the touchscreen and control on the top of the camera in favour of a large exhaust grille. Instead, the camera's main control panel is on the right hand side of the body. This design lends itself much more to being operated by a person standing on this side of the camera, which is a very different design ethos to the Komodo-X. It's really nice to operate the camera here, and you can really customise what you want to control on the different pages as well. The menu system on both cameras is very snappy and fast to navigate through. If you use the DSMC3 monitor or the Red Control app on the Komodo-X or the V-RAPTOR, the control for them becomes pretty much identical. The rears of the camera look quite similar. However, the V-RAPTOR features two 12G SDI ports, which are fully independent of each other, which will make distributing images on set much easier. Both cameras use a locking version of Canon's RF mount and can be rigged up in very similar ways, though the position of the Komodo-X's control panel does make it harder to rig for some configurations. There are also some smaller differences between the two, such as the V-RAPTOR can record both ProRes and R3D at the same time, whereas the Komodo-X cannot, and requires rebooting between the two recording modes. Both cameras have record buttons on the front of them. The V-RAPTOR's is on the left hand side and the Komodo-X's is on the right. I personally prefer the position of the V-RAPTOR's one. I think Red has done a good job of separating these cameras out across the different prices. There are clear steps depending on what you need or want for your shooting style. Unsurprisingly, the key differences between the two V-RAPTORs is the sensors. If you are looking at the two of them, ask yourself whether or not you would benefit from the extra reach possible with the smaller Super 35 8K sensor. If not, the V-RAPTOR's larger VistaVision sensor has better low light performance, very slightly better latitude performance, and of course you get the ability to get that larger sensor look. However, I think there are a few key markets that the Super 35 sensor will be a good option for, such as macro and product work, some broadcast productions, and the big two being sports and wildlife. Sports and wildlife will both benefit from the smaller sensor, as it will give you extra reach out of all of your lenses. The Komodo-X can do a lot of what the V-RAPTORs can do, but the V-RAPTORs offer quite a substantial step in both image quality and frame rate options. The Komodo-X has been designed for solo operation, and while the V-RAPTOR can be used as such, it's clearly been designed to work within a crew or in studio configurations, so it does make it better to operate in this environment. The V-RAPTOR XL is Red's flagship cinema camera. It is aimed at the highest end of production, and that is reflected in its feature set and price tag. The XL shares a lot of its key specifications with the smaller Raptors. It's available with the choice of either the 8K VistaVision sensor or 8K Super 35 sensor. They use the same core menu system, side operator button and screen layout, sensor Peltier system, CivExpress Type B media, and R3D RAW and ProRes internal recording options. But the XL is over £15,000 more expensive than the regular V-RAPTOR, so why would anyone buy it or pay the extra to rent one? Well, there are some big differences between the two. The first is the body design. The larger body of the XL has been designed to slide into existing high-end production workflows, better than its smaller brothers. The XL is a good amount larger than the V-RAPTOR, which means it will require larger support equipment sitting around it. It is also a dual voltage system that can run on both 12 or 26 volt batteries, whereas the Raptor is just 12 volt. This, paired with the vast range of power distribution on the camera, means that you can power a lot of accessories directly off of the camera, which will be more common on higher end productions. It also has a lot more inputs and outputs compared to the V-RAPTOR. There are actually 3 12G SDIs on the rear of the camera and a 3G SDI at the front, which is aimed at being used with an EVF. There is also a 5-pin for audio accessories, a 4-pin control port, a 9-pin 1GB Ethernet port, and a gigabit USB-C port. It also has these antennas, which are for the internal wireless timecode and gen lock. The XL has an integrated ambient master lock kit, which means any device that works with the ambient communication network will work with it. It can be used both wirelessly and wired via the 5-pin timecode or BNC for gen lock that are on the back of the camera as well. With the extra space that the body has, the XL has a more robust cooling solution than the Raptor. It has 3 intakes around the side and bottom and an exhaust on the top. This improved cooling system should result in even more stable temperatures and help keep the CivExpress Type B media cool as well. This increased body size also helps to house the new internal electronic ND system. The XL's built-in ND system has been designed from the ground up by Red to be very flexible and perform well. It gives you an option to use a clear filter, then 2 stops through to 7 stops worth of ND. This is granularly controllable in quarter, third or full stop increments, which is really precise. Red recently released this exact system in PL adapter form for the Komodo, Komodo-X and V-RAPTOR cameras, which is awesome, but it is pricey. There are other ND PL adapters on the market which perform well, but this Red one looks to integrate the best with these cameras. The original Raptor uses a lock-in Canon RF lens mount, whereas the XL uses a more robust interchangeable mount similar to Red's previous system. It comes with PL as standard, but this can be swapped out to other mounts like EF or LPL. This means that you don't need to use an adapter like you do with the V-RAPTOR. It's rock solid and reliable, which is a big thing when using it on the highest end productions. The XL, as well as the rest of Red's lineup, has phase detect autofocus, which is actually pretty usable, but the XL will require you to use EF lenses to do this. For a lot of owner operators, the regular V-RAPTOR will be an incredible camera that can capture some amazing imagery, and it can adapt to a massive range of different shooting scenarios. And for this market, the benefits of the XL might not be worth the extra £15,000. However, for many high-end productions that require these extra features and tweaks over the V-RAPTOR, you get to use either of the excellent available sensors and Red's stellar compressed RAW while still providing the features that you need to get the job done effectively. So we've explored all of Red's new DSMC3 cameras in this video, but there is still another option worth considering, grabbing a used DSMC2 system. It's pretty crazy how much you can grab a used DSMC2 system for now. We've got Helium 8K kits for around £6,000 and Gemini kits for around £8,000 on our website. These are kits, not just brains, which does make them look quite attractive when you consider the price of a full new DSMC3 kit. Of course, there are plenty of improvements with DSMC3, the biggest probably being how much faster the camera's menus are and the improved cooling. But there is also a lot to still love with DSMC2. You have more in-depth RAW compression options, fantastic image quality with a really good range of sensors, an interchangeable rock-solid lens mount system, and a comprehensive range of accessories, including integrated monitors. I really want to see a monitor like the old 5 or 7 inch for the DSMC3 range, where you don't have an RMI or a cable connected to it. Just a simple monitor onto the pogo pins like the DSMC2 one would be great to see. We used the Gemini as our in-house camera for years, and I do miss it from time to time. DSMC2 can still produce excellent images, and they are absolute workhorses if treated well. As with any used camera, you may find some of these have been heavily used, so buying used kit can be a bit of a minefield, but that is made easier when buying used kit from us due to our 90-day warranty on pretty much all of our used stock. All of the used stock that we sell is professionally evaluated and serviced by our in-house Pro Repairs engineers, and we are actually the UK's exclusive Red Certified Service Centre. If you want to see exactly what we currently have in stock, head over to cvp.com/used. If you're interested in any of the used kit that we've got on the website and want to check it out for yourself in person, just drop us an email via the details down in the description below. We've covered each of these cameras in depth in some of our previous videos, so if you want to learn more about any of these cameras, I've made a little playlist with everything that we've made related to Red in the description below. Let us know if you have any further questions in the comments below, and if you like the video, please give it a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on our awesome upcoming content, and thank you so much for watching.